Convinced of
Oh
a
yeah,
better
did you do
plan.
that at home?
Yeah, I
Better
went over that.
plan.
Cause it was, they moved it.
You know what?
to-
Over
I haven't
there
had
in the-
anything come out.
The concession.
My
Oh,
first
no.
issue.
Yeah, I'll help you out on that. Have you
I
opened
did
it?
not.
Open the page.
Well, the mentor packet, the mentor packet just became available today, or I'm sorry, the presentation packet just became available today.
Where'd they post it?
ODE,
Oh,
but I have a link for you.
I have a Google, like I have a classroom. You have a classroom?
Yes. Yeah, but there was like one person, I was right.
Oh, sorry, I moved your mouse, I didn't use.
Microphone is live, folks,
There's,
just to let you know. Don't want to come to hear the
Probably a good idea.
she said turn on your faces, but I was like, she don't.
Not on.
Is Trey coming tonight?
But here's the thing.
You hear from Trey?
Usually not, something important, but
Do like after reading.
when I'm watching,
So,
Is that
I
for
guess
me?
my
Only
wife-
because I'm not early.
Somebody checked it out.
We never- I think if I didn't have a relationship, I would miss that.
Yeah, that's me. I'm always early or I'm not coming. I forgot.
A lot of people, right,
I'm never early.
and then all of a sudden they walk around.
So I asked
There's a lot of ways you can ask for a ball.
Go down Keller and around.
Who's wearing that number? He's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Like when
it's
I
me.
I have to turn in the little alley at the post office to get in, and then I take the alley out and turn on East Main and go around, so. But sometimes it's laptop.
Well, at 6:30, we'll go ahead and start. He can jump in when he gets here. I'd like to go ahead and call to order our Board of Education meeting for September the 19th. If we could stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dr. Swab.
Here.
Mrs. Brewer.
Here.
Mr. Biesecker.
Here.
Mr. Manuel. Mrs. Hill. Here.
Thank you everyone for coming this evening. And the first item on our agenda is reviewing and approving our agenda and the minutes. Is there any additions or deletions to the agenda we have tonight? If not, can I have a motion to approve it as printed? So moved. Thanks, Scott. And a second?
I'll second.
Maria, thanks. Any discussion or issues? No, roll call for approving of the agenda.
Mr. Biesecker.
Yes.
Mrs. Hill.
Yes.
Dr. Swab.
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer.
Yes.
The next item is approving the August 15th regular session minutes and August the 25th special session minutes that we had to review. Do you have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Thanks, Holly. And a second? Second. Thanks, Scott. Any discussion, questions, or deletions? If none, roll call for approval, please.
Mr. Biesecker.
Yes.
Mrs. Hill.
Yes.
Dr. Swab.
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer.
Yes.
Next item is our student spotlight. I'll turn the meeting over to our administrative team.
So, we have our first student spotlight. We've been in school for a couple weeks and it's always nice to recognize the students. And we'll start off with the elementary. And we have our first student that's being spotlighted tonight is Natalie Rank, who's nominated by Ms. Brooke Fair. And do you want to read your, what you have to say about Natalie?
Okay, so I would like to recognize Natalie Rank for Student Spotlight of the Month. Natalie is the oldest of 3. She has 2 younger brothers, Levi and Wyatt. Natalie loves being with her family and friends, being outside and playing sports. She loves all subjects at school and is a hard worker in each and every one of them. At the beginning of the school year, Natalie started in the other 4th grade homeroom. After a week or so of school, we, Natalie's teachers, decided it would be beneficial to switch her homeroom class. She has handled the switch with such grace and continued to push herself every day. Natalie is kind to all her classmates and an amazing teacher assistant, which happens to be the job she was recently chosen for in our classroom economy. I am happy to have Natalie in 4th grade this year, and I am excited to see what she achieves during the school year.
Thank you. Our next elementary student spotlight is Boston Spurgeon, who is nominated by Mrs. Roberts.
I would like to nominate Boston Spurgeon for this month's Student Spotlight. Boston works hard every day. He comes in with this big smile and you can't help but smile back. He greets his classmates every morning and really sets a positive tone for our classroom for the day. Boston is a young man with integrity. I can count on him to always do the right thing, even when no one's looking. If there's anything that needs to be done, he's right on it. Boston is an excellent friend. He treats everyone with kindness and respect. Everyone wants to be his friend because he has such a kind heart. He invites students that are playing alone to play in his group, and the teachers in the building all have positive things to say about Boston. More than once, I've seen him offer his seat to a teacher that comes into the classroom to help out, and he makes sure that she knows where all the needed supplies are. He also works hard in class. He's not afraid to ask questions, which is helpful not only to him, but to other students. He never needs reminders to finish his work or stay on task. He participates in classroom discussions and is an excellent partner when we do group work. He always has a growth mindset and a smile while working. Boston makes our classroom a better place with his positivity and leadership. Great job, Boston, and congratulations. Thank you very much for what you contribute to our classroom daily.
Thank you. So congratulations to Natalie and Boston. Moving on to the junior high and high school. Our first student of the month is Catherine Riffle, who was nominated by Mrs. Estes, and this is what Mrs. Estes had to say about Catherine. I have chosen Catherine Riffle as this month's student spotlight because she is very compassionate, considerate, hardworking student that follows all my expectations in class. She tries very hard on everything she does in my class. She listens during instruction and demonstrations. She is kind and considerate of others. Catherine has a positive outlook and is excited to learn new things and never complains. I always see her with a smile on her face. I would call her the ideal student, and I enjoy having her in my class. Great job, Catherine, and congratulations. And then for our last student spotlight, we have Tegan Buchanan, who is nominated by Mrs. Link. This is what Mrs. Link had to say about Tegan. I'm nominating Tegan Cannon as this month's student spotlight. Tegan always has a smile on her face, even when she claims to be in a bad mood. She always asks how people are doing, and unlike many other people who use it as a simple greeting, she will take the time and have conversations with you about what's going on in your life. There have been multiple times throughout these last 3 years where Tegan has sent me an email telling me that I'm always doing a good job, or even one simply trying to make me feel better after having a rough day. She is always willing to help out her classmate, and it is clear her classmates respect her and her opinion. Tegan is one of the hardest workers I have seen. She's always getting her work done and is one of the only students I have ever encountered who will keep up with her classwork when she's not in class. Tegan is an amazing person and deserving of being recognized. Great job, Tegan, and congratulations. So those are our 4 student spotlights.
All right, so Michelle isn't able to be here. She's still under the weather this week. So, and we just started school. We're 3 weeks in. Not a ton has been going on just yet, but here's some open house. We had a nice turnout for open house, which is always great. Lots of smiles on faces, kids seeing their next classroom. And for the high school kids, it's typically arguing with me or Mrs. Ray about where their locker is, but
It's after being here all summer without kids in the building,
it's nice.
it's nice to have the kids back in the building.
Yes.
And that open house is that first really day that we get in the back.
It's a long day, but it's a great day because you actually see all the kids. One of the things that we're really going to focus on this year is data, and we've already started that with Jay Borchers, who's a curriculum director at the Miami County ESC. As we've looked through all of our state testing data, and we started last year doing Restart Readiness assessments, which is an assessment by the state that allows you to kind of gauge where your students are at different points of the year. We did those assessments last year, but we're not sure how much we've actually looked at the data. And, you know, it's kind of hard to take a kid someplace when you don't really know where they're at or what you're literally looking at. So we're bringing in Jay this year. He's going to be with us for our 2-hour early releases and our professional development days to really sit down and hone in on what our students are doing really well and what we don't necessarily need to hit on so much, and then what our students really need to focus on to propel us to that next level. Michelle and I will have kind of an update on our state report card at the next board meeting that we'll go over that came out. We did both jump up, so that's nice to see, but we still have steps to go. And, you know, being able to analyze data and understand what that is telling us is our next avenue to go down to get a better idea of where we really are. We have an amazing staff here. Our students have the ability. We just need to hone in on some of these things. And it's not something that the district has done, I don't believe, for quite some time. And it's something that we really need to start focusing on.
Not to do a spoiler alert, but if you haven't seen the report card, our elementary had 4 stars out of 5, and our high school had 3.5 stars out of 5 for a total or an average of 3.5 for the district. So very proud of what's been going on here. So.
Yeah, I think we're really starting to make some gains, and we've got a lot of momentum going forward, and the teachers, you know, understand and have bought into everything.
So one of the things that the elementary is doing in addition to data is we're taking a look at our PBIS system, which is a positive behavior system. It's a way to, we've kind of had a mindset change in the elementary as to how we see discipline. We no longer want discipline to be about, you know, corrections for wrong which the students, we wanted to see about justice, trying to teach these kids how to behave in society, because ultimately that's what we're here for, is to make good citizens. So one of the ways that we decided to do this was we created over the summer, the elementary BLT met, building leadership team met, and they came up with what's our class or expectations matrix for outside the classroom. We also had our classroom teachers come up with their own matrix as to how they expect students to behave in the classroom. And we're revolving these all around the 5 R's. So we have the 5 R's here at Bradford, which is kind of what we base everything around. They are respect, responsibility, ready to learn, resiliency, and rotor empowerment. So what we have here, and you can't really read it that well, but it's how we expect students to behave according to the 5 R's. For instance, in the cafeteria, for respect, we expect them to follow all directions, to listen to adults, to exhibit good table manners, and to keep food in the cafeteria. For responsibility, we want them to stay in the designated area, to clean up their eating areas, to stay in your seats, and use only a 3-inch voice. For ready to learn is to wait in line for your turn. Resilience is to accept any consequences for negative behaviors. And rotor empowerment, which is pretty much all the same, is to basically take pride in being a railroader at this school. So make sure that you're treating the school nicely and take pride in the fact that you're here. So this was just sort of our way of starting to come up with expectations that way the teachers know what the expectations are and the students know what the expectations are. And last Thursday, we actually worked with the students on those expectations. We took them out in the hall, showed them how to act in the hall, went over the expectations. We had a bus, took them on the bus, and the other areas, so they kind of know how to act in school. So these are some things that we're really working on as we start to implement this new PBIS system. We are working through Dark County on this system. There's a number of schools that met to work on PBIS. We actually have some people from the Central.
Yes,
ESC
ESC of Central.
Yeah, ESC of Central Ohio that are going to be coming in to talk with the administration on how to better do this PBIS. It's not that we didn't have something in place before this. We're formalizing this a little bit more. And we're also working on MTSS, which is multi-tiered
Systems.
Yeah, multi-tier systems of support with behavior. So we're meeting with parents, meeting with teachers to basically, if there are behavior issues, what are causing the behavior issues, how can we address those needs? So the students are behaving in class and are able to learn.
We have homecoming coming up. Our queen candidates this year are Eleni Cannon, Tegan Cannon, Brooklyn Kirkmore, Savannah Lingo, and Isabel Painter. And our king candidates are Hudson Hill, Eric Keener, Tucker Miller, Garrett Trevino, and Landon Wills. 10 great kids, very deserving to be on court. You know, I always like asking them who they think they're going to win, and they always tell me, and it's never them, which I find funny. But great group of senior students that we have here. We're looking forward to homecoming coming up. We do have a student, she's a graduate, Molly Clark. Today, she interviewed for the communications proficiency for all of FFA. So she is one of 4 students in the United States, not just Ohio, in all of the United States that is up for this award. So she went through a lot of things last year. We kind of talked about it at the end of this year. She had her interview today. I'm hoping and praying that that went very, very well for her, which according to her mother, she was really bothering her roommates down at Morehead State about it. But she will find out at the national convention here in November where she placed. So very proud of what she has accomplished, and she definitely represents Bradford very well.
So we have some upcoming events between now and the next board meeting on the 20th, which is tomorrow. The Dark County Arts and Education presentation will be for grades 4 through 6. Also, we have the farm science review. On the 22nd, we've got some gifted professional development for the ELA and math teachers grades 3 through 12. And on September 25th, kindergarten's going to Broomball's Fruit Farm for a field trip for seasons and life cycles. On the 25th, first grade's going to Miami County District, Charleston Falls trip for habitats. On October 7th, we have a homecoming dance. October 11th, there is no school for professional development. And on October 13th, we have the Pumpkin Show School Parade.
If you're not busy on the 7th, I could always use help with chaperoning. It's a lot of fun. The kids enjoy it. Just throwing that out there. Athletic events coming up. We've got the WOAC, which is hard to believe that golf is starting to wind down, but that's on the 21st. That's over in Richmond. Football plays at Dixie this Friday. Cross country is over in Versailles on Saturday. Then next week, volleyball on Tuesday is at Arcanum. Junior high and high school is at Union City. And then we have sectionals for golf next week as well. And it's like we have high school volleyball wrapping things up with Mississinawa Valley all next week, when junior high football will be at Mississinawa Valley as well. And then cross country is still plugging away at Newton. So we're on the downside of fall sports, as crazy as that sounds.
So on the September 14th, the volleyball team hosted Tri-County North in a battle against cancer. The rotors, both JV and varsity, came out with wins, and a preliminary donation was made to the Toby family of $1,390.
And the proceeds that they're doing for the bake sale today and the 50/50 will also go towards that $1,390. So it will be over $1,400 that they have raised for the Toby family, which is a great event. And to come out with 2 wins is even better.
This is always a good thing that we can kind of have a friendly rivalry with another school, but still come together for a good cause.
And it was nice that they won.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
So a couple of athletic updates. Owen Cannon was the Daily Advocate Player of the Week, and Tucker Miller was the Power 1071 Blazing Athlete of the Week. Then we've got some pictures for football. I will admit, it's been great seeing the football season go on this year. For anybody at home, if you haven't been out to the new field, I highly recommend it. And I will say, having been at the other football field for as many years as I was, I still feel like we're at an away game, but it's great to know that this is our facility and it's a great facility. Everybody did a great job. And it's kind of nice to see Bradford also win at home, so. Then we have cross country and golf. There's cross country and golf, both of which are having good seasons. Any questions?
Great, thank you very much. It's great to see you working on creating good citizens and having nice rules and nice metrics for you to monitor. I think
Yep.
giving the kids expectations.
And having those universal expectations, the kids aren't confused when they have different teachers or they know exactly what's expected of them.
Yeah, that's a kudos. That's a great project you guys put in place.
Oh, thank you.
Next, Maria, do you have an update for the cruise?
I do not.
Short and sweet. Good news. No news is good news. Mr. First, do you have an update?
Well, sure.
Just a second.
First of all, I have to apologize. Board members, I thought I had sent out my update on Friday and apparently I didn't, so I do apologize. I had it actually done early. I was telling these two earlier that I had it done around lunchtime. I thought, hey, I'm going to be on top of things and get it all situated. So I don't know what happened, but I do apologize for getting that out late. I will also say Chloe had some information she was putting together with ticket prices to show you some data of what's going on with ticket prices this fall. And we sent her home sick today. So she is not here this evening, but she will have some information for us for the next board member meeting in October. Our van update. The salesman we have for our van lives in Treasure Island, Florida, even though he works for a company in California. And they were almost a direct hit with the hurricane that came through Florida a week and a half ago. So we've had some issues trying to get, communication's been a problem. Let's just say that. It hadn't been real fluid. It hadn't been very speedy. So the van is ordered. We've been told it'll still be here before September 30th, but I'm getting a little anxious now, that being 10 days away. So we're gonna keep pushing here. We do have to fall back on the other van, which I don't necessarily want to go with. But we do have to meet that September 30th deadline to be able to use these grant funds. So, we will keep you updated, but I don't know if you have any questions, we're over there, but we're gonna keep forging ahead with this deal in California. But I don't wanna make anybody worried, but there's a plan B in process. If we do have to make that switch, we will let you know. Concession stand, we met with a group today of administrators, school personnel, and boosters representatives to kind of lay out what's supposed to be inside the concession stand and make sure everything is lined up where we need it to out there, and enough room for this versus that, and take this closet and move it there, and this sink and put in another wall and that sort of thing. So moving forward pretty well on that. I'm very happy with what we've got so far. And we are also going to be using the same architect engineer for our Head Start renovations. We got the grant for an improvement on the Head Start room to put in a restroom and an extra door into that room. So we have on the agenda tonight to hire the same architect or engineer. We have the flexibility to go elsewhere if we need to, but I think that's the way we're going to go. We've been searching utilities and things like that, and lo and behold, right where we want to put the toilets is literally right above the sewer line. So kind of like meant to be for whatever reason. So we're hoping to get all that done through this grant, and I'm hoping that it costs the district $0, but we haven't got budgets put together for that yet, and quotes from different companies, but we're hoping it's in most a very minimal expense to the district, and we will obviously improve it greatly by putting the restrooms right there, or a restroom right there with the Head Start area, so they're not trouncing all the way down to the first grade area every day with the whole group on certain times. So that being said, I don't know if I've got anything else. I do have an explanation for our policies. We'll get to that later on, but if you've got any questions, that's all I have.
Rachel?
Thanks.
I want to share a little bit about some of the situations we've been working with grants, and I'm going to expand on a little bit on what Joe talked about. We have finished up all the consolidated continuous improvement grants for this year. And we were fortunate enough, we've been very strategic in the way we've looked at all our ESSER's money with the intent of looking for a bigger project, something meaningful. I don't mean this in a disparaging manner, but I've seen some districts that have not used this influx of money that in the best way possible. Or at least I don't think they've used it for their needs. We've looked for needs over the years and we found the needs and we're trying to fill those voids. So we've been fortunate enough that we're going to have around $696,000 carried over into this ESSER's grant that we have for this year. That's going to allow us to do work on the STEM room. It's going to allow us to do some more upgrading with some of our technology that we need. And I think we've got a pretty good plan for the rest of that money. We're also waiting on the $790,000 to come from the EPA Clean School Bus Grant. I think we're over the hurdle. That was a much more difficult process than I could have ever imagined. And the particular way they wanted everything. Mr. Hurst has seen what it's been like, and it's just been, I pulled off the emails the other day and one stream of conversation was 30-some pages long. So it's just gone on, but they're being very diligent about knowing how we're going to handle the money. And it's a great deal of money for us. So I think it's been worth the effort. And I think it's closing in on being finished. The one thing I don't know if you mentioned is that most of the infrastructure is in for that. We actually have operating charging stations for the fast chargers and for the 3 slow chargers that they're in. We just have one more unit that's coming in. So I think we'll be able to finish, pretty much finish our AES grant, take care of everything we've got. Now we're just waiting on a bus. And so, and trying to finish up some of the things on the other bus. So that's been a very successful situation. We've got several grants coming your way. I've got a applaud Tiffany. She's been working with the food service department to try to have this grant come into place, which will essentially service the children with better foods, scratch foods, but also it will basically rebuild most of the infrastructure of our kitchen at the same time. And our kitchen's 23 years old, that needs to occur. So I think that's been a positive. She was on the phone today and they were working through some things. So I think that's a very positive situation for us. You have your financial statements. They were very positive this year. We've gotten those through the process and we're just waiting to go through audit. That hasn't started yet, which is kind of surprising because it seems like that it should have occurred yet at this point, but I'm not complaining. I would like to see the auditors hold off for a little while. And I don't know if we really talked about the preschool grant and how you talked about it a little bit, but I don't know if they've got all the understanding of how that came about. The preschool is not our situation, but we are the recipients of the children that are in that preschool. And I know there was a strong desire to make sure they have more instructional time. So doing this bathroom is kind of outside the box thinking to give more instructional time to the students for some instructional and social time and be able to do it with no cost to the district. So the hope at the end of the day is when they roll into our kindergartens, they're much more prepared. So that is the intent, to bring them up to speed. Then we have on the agenda empowering Dark County.
To finish up that though, real quick, I don't know if I even told you much about this, but we're hoping to enclose the next, so to speak, vestibule from where the board office entrance is. So it'd be right there in front of the preschool room. It's just a porch right now. To wall that off, we could put in a separate door so parents could go in and have access to the preschool room separate from the hallway and the rest of the building. And then put in a bathroom there. And if things go well, if the space is adequate, we could even put in potentially a bathroom behind that would be accessible to weight room folks. So the folks in weight room class or whatever after school wouldn't have to come back in the hallways to go to the bathroom too. So that's the goal.
And the intent again is for it to look like it's always been there, because it'll be a matching brick wall, because we can still obtain the brick. It will look like the things that should have been put in here at the time the building was built. And so I think it's going to be positive all the way around. It's just it was not what the intent of when we applied for the grant, but it came as we focused on different things. So I'm looking forward to that project if we can get everything to come to fruition. I started to talk a little bit about empowering Dark County. Most of the Dark County schools have used this, and this is a group that is a nonprofit who works with schools to try to get more instructions outside of the regular classroom, with people coming in and helping. They have various ways that they work with students to try to help fill the voids of education that they may be missing or just slower to react to. So it's another improvement on the instructional time. And really, I think that's going to be a positive. Michelle has been over to the meetings, and I think I wish she could have addressed it tonight, but I'm looking forward to seeing that, because it's students working with students and parents coming in. I think it's a very positive, very structured environment that'll gain some knowledge for some of the students here. And with that, that's the end of my report.
Thanks. Any questions for Carmen? Great. Thanks for all your effort and all your projects that you've been working so hard on. It looks like they're all starting to reap some rewards as these things start to get finalized. That'll probably be a relief to have that done.
I did see Saturday morning, I was watching one of the national morning newses, and they had a school in Florida that has some of the electric buses. And they're going to try to get their whole fleet of electric buses. I don't know how many it was. I caught the tail end of it, but it was really interesting on the electric buses. So I'm like, hey, that was us. We were first. We had that.
That discussion over there at Columbus
Amazing.
was wonderful. I think they were as interested in what we had to say as we were what they had to say. And this was over, was it 7-state region? Trying to think, Region 5, I think it covered 7 states. And after hearing and looking at statistics on this, we were very, very fortunate to get these buses. And we're going to try again.
Yes, we will.
Keep on keeping on.
You betcha.
Excellent. Did you have any public participation requests? Okay. So next on our agenda is the treasury report, consent calendar items 1 through 20, which goes through to top of page 5. Carl, if you could give us an overview.
Okay. Have the financial journal, the check journal, the then and nows as they are listed. Recommend approval of transfers and advances for the month. Recommend approval of permanent appropriations for necessary amendment. Recommend a $270 donation for the Brian Byer Scholarship Fund from Ruby Ludwig. Recommend acceptance of the following donations for the Bryant Byers Scholarship as listed. Recommend acceptance of a donation from Kimberly Hershey of $750 for the John Hershey Memorial Scholarship Fund. Recommend acceptance of a donation from Production Paint Finishers in the amount of $1,007.99 for scholarships. Recommend the acceptance of a donation from Covington Savings and Loan in the amount of $500 for scholarships. Recommend the acceptance of a donation from Daryl and Kathy Gamble in the amount of $100 to be used for kindergarten staff. Recommend acceptance of a donation of gift cards totaling $200 from Stalker Fairway Funeral Home. Recommend acceptance of a donation of a couch from the Blue Bow Boutique in Troy to be placed in the Teacher's Lounge. Recommend approval of applying for the Ohio STEM Learning Network STEM Classroom Grant in the amount of $5,000. Recommend approval to apply for a Menards credit card with a credit limit of $2,500. Recommend working with American Fidelity in order to create an HRA agreement for use by employees in the school district that are eligible for health savings account option. Recommend approval of financial statements for the fiscal year that ended June 30th, 2023. It's filed for the school district through the Auditor of State's Office through the Hinkle report. Recommend approval of applying for a school-based mental health implementation grant from the School-Based Healthcare Solutions Network. Recommend approval to purchase additional shoulder pads as requested by the athletic director from Rydell in the amount of $2,097.97. Recommend approval of the recondition of football helmets from Rydell in the amount of $3307.74.
Next, I have a motion to approve the presented items.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thanks, Holly. Any discussion or questions for Carla on the items to approve?
Was the Stalker really for a certain thing or just gift cards? It was just random?
Gift cards to help, just to say thank you for hosting Layman's
Oh,
funeral.
okay.
Any other questions? Run the roll call for approval, please.
Mr. Biesecker,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer.
Yes.
We have no old business items or new business for tonight. Some calendar items 1 through 15. And Mr. Hirsch, if you'd like to give us an overview, high-level overview of what you'd like us to approve.
Certainly. Many typical pieces in here. I'll point out the high points. Letter B, where you're restoring 1 hour per day for Rita put off in the cafeteria, bringing her back to 7 hours. When she was hired on, Cheryl basically said we could cut that down an hour and we'd be fine, and it has worked fine, but with the extra work in there with this new grant, this is needed to make sure we keep moving forward. Number 4, we've got some tuition reimbursements for Holly Johnson, Jamie Sink, and Haley Lear coming up 4, 5, and 6. Ashley Fry gets to move over to the master's column in the pay scale. Number 8, we've got an MOU that we've put together with the blessing of the Education Association here to help with those that are applying for a waiver for not taking our insurance here with the district. The way the contract is written currently, if you don't do that at the beginning of the school year, it's all or none. Since the open window or open enrollment window for insurance is in January, there's really not a logical way to do that. So this will allow us to partially pay or prorate that first year's pay. And you have copies, I believe, there at your desk of that MOU. Number 9, August 27th, the state came out and said, hey, we're not doing blizzard bags anymore. It's changed to online learning plans. So by October 3rd is the actual law going into place, and by November 1st, we have to have a resolution in place. We've already done the blizzard bag. What we're doing here is just revising that to be the same plan that you've got there in front of you. And again, this is something that Ryan and I have talked about through BEA and making sure everything's on board, but this actually fits our needs much better than what the old blizzard bag descriptions were. So this is a blessing for our district to be able to handle this way. Number 12, empowering Dark County youth. Carl already talked about it. It's an exciting program to help tutor our kids. 13 is where our boys and girls basketball teams are going over to the Hoosier Gym, in Indiana to scrimmage Brookville in November. And number 15, we wanted to talk about that architect or engineer that we are going to hire for the new preschool grant. So for early childhood education grant, it's not technically a preschool grant. That being said, I've skipped around a little bit. If you have questions, I'll certainly answer what I can.
Do you have a motion to approve the items presented? And second, discussions or questions? Hearing none, roll call for approval, please.
Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer.
Yes.
The next item was approving a change order, A&B asphalt amount of $17,466 and Arbiter paving for $2,534. Motion to approve.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thanks. Any discussion or questions or any additional information, Joe?
There will be another Heiberger change order for an increase to equal out some of what A&B did, because what they did is swapped responsibilities on track a little bit. So Heiberger came in and fixed a few of the flaws that A&B was going to do. So there will be one coming down the pike, but we're getting closer and closer to close out on the whole track project.
That's a great feeling.
Yes.
None, then roll call for approval.
Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer.
Yes.
Next item for tonight is reviewing and consider the first reading of the Neola policies that are listed on our agenda that we had emailed to us prior to the meeting. Joe, do you have any overview or how would you, or does anybody have questions?
Shall I hit a couple high points or do you want me to go through each one?
I think you hit the high points. I mean, we had the chance to kind of look at them. I think I sent you a message about the questions that I had. So.
All right. I'll just hit a few of the ones that are actual changes. 0141.2 conflict of interest deals with, we've talked all along about school board members and people not being able to be affiliated with a business or whatever and still being, to be able to trade services at the school district. This was written or updated to include College Credit Plus. That was the big thing. There are other districts where school board members were on a board at Edison, for example, and this is a theoretical example, but they were purchasing services through credit or CCP with Edison, so that was a conflict of interest there. So this cleans some of that up. Third grade reading guarantee, which is the next one on the list there. There's a new law now that is basically putting together a plan called a RIMP for each of our students that don't pass that third grade reading guarantee, and that RIMP is going to follow them through 4th, 5th, 6th grade, wherever, until they meet the qualifications of the grade level test. So that's a new law. This is following that law. Volunteers are going to be doing sudden cardiac arrest classes now. Skipping down a few, the next ones don't really apply too much to us. Wordsmithing and 5320. 5330 cracked me up a little bit. Use of medications. They actually rewrote this policy so students could use medications over medications by themselves, which in this case means they could apply sunscreen when they're going to field day or something like that on their own and not have to require additional paperwork for that. 5337, care of students with seizure disorders. We have a plan in place for every student that has seizures. This is not something new to our district. We've been doing it for years, but now the policy backs that up, and there's actually a law that comes out that says we are required to do it, but like I said, we're already doing it. Some of the other ones here, wordsmithing, 6700, I basically says we're not going to have cameras on if a an employee is breastfeeding or pumping at the time. 7440, these are all wordsmith pieces. School calendar does the Blizzard bag to virtual online learning transition. 8600 basically says transportation by school van is a little bit more lenient now. We can use that in place of a school bus for certain situations, for regular gen ed students and everything else. Public attendance at school events, this is to ensure that we will accept cash at our ticket booth, at our concession stand, so on and so forth, and not completely go to a credit card or a cashless system. That is really the high points of everything. If I have anything, if you have questions about anything, I'll certainly ask, but those are what I thought were true changes, so to speak.
Anyone have any questions or clarifications?
No, I could open them and I could see them, but the last two come in with that caution like it was. So I was like,
Alert.
yeah, is this like, I'm gonna get hacked? I could, but I could see the policies like listed on there, but it was just weird that I had that big orange.
It's just weird that comes through now and not ever before.
Yeah, I thought maybe I shouldn't open this, but
I think Sandy would be a safe
I would
email to
say,
open,
right.
so.
I didn't see that. Did they ask it yet?
Yeah, mine come in like it was not a safe email to open. But I didn't really have to open anything because it was like listed. It was weird. I just screenshot and sent it to Joe and said, I'm not sure what this is, but 2 of the 3 said caution before opening, so.
That's a crazy world. Any other questions? If not, we would consider that our first review, our first reading. Next item is a motion to enter executive session for item G1 listed on our agenda.
Someone?
Is there any, Scott? Roll call for entering executive session.
Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer.
Yes.
15, and we have no actions anticipated after the executive session. Thanks everybody for coming. Appreciate your guys' reports.
Yeah.
Do they really? You can get a gift card for $100? Why not?
I'm sure I'm in the right place here. We'll get that smoother. Huh? No.
We'll have to figure that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's from Sandy, but the other one from Sandy came through just fine.
That's kind of what.
It kind of got a little squeal to her.
Well, thank you, sir.
But I look-
Appreciate it.
I got it right.
So, but the other,
I didn't, or if I did, we were at Bob's school.
yeah,
I don't remember seeing that, but I also looked at it late when I was looking at it.
yeah, I have an Android.
Do you have an Android?
I have Android.
So I wonder if that's what it is.
That must be
My
what
iPad-
I had my phone. Yeah.
But then I can pull them up,
I'm sorry? You want to turn the
but
mics
I
off?
just.
No, we have to go next door.
I didn't know.
I don't know how to turn it off.
No, when I
Yeah.
they're like a whole bunch of PDFs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. But these two, that was that way.
Well, here's
These
a
two were like,
microphone off button.
oh, I didn't know. I opened it, it was just fine, but I just thought it was odd.
Yeah. that's bizarre. When we're using something like this, you want to.
Right.
I didn't want to figure that out.
Who knows? IT has become a complicated challenge.
No, you go, Scott. You're younger than me.
That's a big screen.
I mean, people are gonna walk back there just. Whether you tell them what you are.
Right.
Well, I just wish we'd had 3 more months.
I was pretty high.
Carla, do you take that cart and bring all the stuff here with it? Or is that an extra cart? You bring everything on it?
Right.
Okay,
But
I'll help you load it up and take it down there and then I'll take the cart.
We'll
Okay,
get you a card.
okay.
We'll take care of it.
We exited executive session at 7:47. And it's still 7:47. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second,
We'll call for adjournment.
Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer.
Yes.
Still stand adjourned. Thanks, everybody, for their time.
All right, I'm gonna go show you.
And I'll sign it.
Okay, I'm gonna give you this for Trey too.